Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, so today we're tackling something huge, a belief that's really deeply ingrained. Cholesterol equals heart disease villain number one. We all know it, right? It shapes diets, drives medication use globally. But, well, what if that's not quite the full picture? Our sources today present a fascinating and, yeah, sometimes unsettling look at this whole cholesterol story and the drugs, statins, meant to fix it.
Yeah, the sources jump right in. They basically say there's a large body of evidence showing no real link between high cholesterol and heart disease. Some even suggest lower cholesterol might actually increase mortality risk. It sounds radical, but it's not entirely new. If you look back, there was this debate, Yudkin blaming sugar, Ansel Keys pointing at fat and cholesterol. Keys' big 7-country study became dogma, but the sources say it was flawed to use cherry-picked data. And get this, there were apparently unpublished studies, Keys himself led, showing an increased death risk when cholesterol was lowered. Plus, the whole sugar industry lobbying thing, that definitely played a role in shaping the narrative away from sugar.
Wow, okay, so the very foundation, the thing we all sort of accept, might have been built on, well, a skewed perspective, maybe even influenced by industry.
That's the argument presented. And from that foundation, you get this explosion in statin use.
Right, the scale is incredible. Billions, maybe trillions spent. And the usage rates, I saw figures like in the U.S. jumping from 12% to 35% of adults over 40, taking them in just a decade. It's huge.
It really is. But then you look at the benefit claimed by independent researchers in these sources. Taking a statin daily for, say, 5 years, they found it extends life by only about 3 to 4 days on average. And importantly, this tiny benefit was seen mainly, almost only, in men. And you weigh that against what the sources describe as vast harms.
Vast harms.
Huh.
Okay, that sounds serious. What kind of harms are we talking about?
Well, they break it down into two main types. First, stuff patients often notice. Muscle pain, that's a big one. Fatigue, memory problems, even mood changes like depression or irritability. Then there's a second category, things maybe not immediately obvious. Type 2 diabetes, particularly noted in women, potential links to cancer, liver issues, cataracts, even some severe neurological conditions resembling ALS.
And how do statins supposedly cause this? What's the mechanism?
So statins work by blocking an enzyme needed to make cholesterol. That's the target. But that same pathway is vital for other things, too. A key one is CoQ10. Blocking its production can lead to mitochondrial problems, think energy production in your cells, causing muscle pain, fatigue, neuropathy, maybe even contributing to heart failure, ironically. Cholesterol itself is also crucial, like for brain synapses. So inhibiting it might lead to cognitive issues, confusion, memory loss. And another point raised is the inhibition of something called NF-κB. It's involved in inflammation and immune response. Dampening it down might suppress the immune system. And one trial, Prosper, apparently showed more cancer deaths in the statin group than heart attacks prevented.
Well, it really makes you wonder, why isn't this side of the story more widely known or discussed?
The sources point pretty strongly towards industry influence. They mention how members of the NCP, the group setting cholesterol guidelines, often had financial ties to statin makers, and that risk calculator from the American College of Cardiology. One big study suggested it could overestimate heart attack risk by as much as 600%. 600. There's also mention of financial pressure doctors potentially penalized for not prescribing enough statins, patients facing insurance hurdles if they don't take them.
And what about when patients do report side effects?
Yeah, the sources claim doctors often dismiss these symptoms. They might say it's just the nocebo effect, like the opposite of placebo or just, getting older, rather than attributing it to the drug itself.
So if cholesterol isn't the main villain, according to this view, what is causing heart disease?
Well, one alternative model highlighted comes from Malcolm Kendrick. His idea is that it starts with damage to the blood vessel lining. The body then forms clots to repair it. These clots can eventually get incorporated into the vessel wall, building up plaque over time. They even mention finding blood clot remnants inside plaques and the role of things like lipoprotein A in this whole process.
Okay, so less about cholesterol levels and more about vessel injury and repair.
Exactly. And that shifts the focus to what might be causing that initial damage. The sources talk about forgotten causes. Things like chronic inflammation, but also prolonged severe stress, fine particulate matter from smoking, air pollution, wildfire smoke, and one they really emphasize is lead exposure. Apparently, it's incredibly damaging to the endothelium, that vessel lining, and linked to hundreds of thousands of deaths each year. But these causes, the sources argue, are rarely mentioned because, well, you cannot sell drugs for any of these.
That's quite a shift, isn't it? Moving from a single target like cholesterol to a much broader, more systemic view. how our environment, our stress, our exposure to toxins interacts with our body's natural processes. So, thinking about all this, what does it mean for you listening right now? I think it really highlights just how important critical thinking is, seeking out different perspectives, especially when it comes to your own health.
Absolutely. And maybe it leaves us with a bigger question. If the core idea about heart disease we held for so long might be incomplete or perhaps even flawed, well, what other fundamental health beliefs might deserve a closer, more critical look too?